Ford has been selling trucks with documented failure patterns they chose not to recall. Technical Service Bulletins acknowledge the problem. Customer satisfaction programs prorated coverage down to 0 at exactly the mileage used trucks carry, and a customer service line answers with a policy instead of a solution. A 2017 F-150 owner found that out the hard way at 90,000 miles. The cold start rattle had been there for a while. He finally brought the truck in. The dealer confirmed the cam phasers needed replacement, looked up the VIN on a service computer, and told him the coverage window had already closed. He called Ford customer service and the answer was the same. There is nothing we can do. The repair quote was $3,528. January 1st, 2023, the date Ford closed the program, had already passed before he ever walked into that dealership. This video ranks every major Ford truck engine, worst to best, by what it costs when something goes wrong. By the end, you will know exactly which engines to avoid, which ones earn their reputation, and the one question to ask before you sign anything on a used Ford truck. If you saw the video where we ranked every American truck engine, the Coyote took the top spot. This goes deeper, Ford only. And the worst engine on this list is not the one most people expect. Number 3 on the worst list, the Ford 5.4 Triton 3-valve V8. This engine ran in the F-150 from 2004 through 2010, and it carried 2 separate problems in the same block at the same time. The first is the spark plug. Ford designed a 2-piece plug for the 3-valve Triton head with a separate bottom half. A steel electrode piece roughly the diameter of a pencil eraser that extended down into the aluminum cylinder head of the F-150's 5.4-liter engine. Ford recommended a service interval of 100,000 miles, but the torque used to remove the plug could snap it in 2. The bottom half stayed in the engine. If that extraction goes wrong and the threads strip, you are looking at cylinder head work, and that is $1,500 to $3,000 per head before labor. Ford acknowledged this in Technical Service Bulletin 0876 in 2008 and changed the design starting in October 2007, which means every 3-valve Triton built before that cutoff carries this risk at every tune-up. Change those plugs before 60,000 miles and you can stay ahead of it. The second problem is the cam phasers, and this is the one that ends engines. On the 5.4-liter 3-valve F-150, the Ford cam phaser is a hydraulic actuator roughly the size of a hockey puck that controls valve timing. When they wear, the engine cold starts with a rattle from the top front of the housing. Mechanics call it the death rattle for a reason. If you keep driving, the engine jumps timing and the valves find the pistons. A proper repair, meaning phasers, chains, and guides together on a 5.4-liter 3-valve F-150, which is the only version of this job worth doing, runs $2,000 to $3,500 at an independent shop. No recall was ever issued. And before the 5.4 owners start typing, let me be precise here. The 2-valve version of this engine, 1997 through 2003, is a different motor entirely. The problems I just described are specific to the 3-valve head that came in 2004. With 2 valves per cylinder, you are in a considerably better position. Number 2 on the worst list, the Ford 2.7-liter EcoBoost. First generation, 2015 through 2017, F-150. This is the most confusing engine in the used Ford truck market right now because the second generation, 2.7 from 2018 onward, is a genuinely solid motor. Same name on the window sticker, different engine underneath it, and the difference costs several $1,000s if you do not know which one you are looking at before you sign. The first generation 2.7-liter EcoBoost has 2 documented problems. The first is a plastic oil pan sealed with silicone against an aluminum engine block. That seal breaks down over time. The oil leak shows up at the rear of the engine near the bell housing, tracks the cross member, and coats the transmission case, which is why most owners think it is the rear main seal. It is not. Ford addressed this with Technical Service Bulletin 1922-05. Steel pan replacement runs $1,200 to $1,800, depending on whether the valve covers need to come out at the same time. The second problem is worse because there is nothing to see. Trucks built between April 1st, 2016 and January 1st, 2017, a 9-month production window, came off the line with defective valve guides in both cylinder heads. Oil gets into the combustion chamber and burns off. A quart every 3,000 miles. Actually, let me put a real number on that. Some owners are losing more than that, with nothing on the driveway, no warning light, just fouled spark plugs and an oil level that keeps dropping between changes. When it finally shows up at the dealer, both cylinder heads need replacement, and the repair runs between $4,000 and $6,000. Ford covered this under Technical Service Bulletin number 19-23-384. And at the end of this video, I am going to give you 3 specific situations and exactly what to do in each one. Whether you already own one of these trucks, whether you are about to buy used, or whether you have no symptoms yet and want to keep it that way. But first, number 1 on the worst list. The Ford 3.5-liter EcoBoost. 3 generations of this engine do not all carry the same problem. The Gen 1, from 2011 through 2016, had timing chain stretch and coolant issues, real but manageable. What concerns me is Gen 2, 2017 through 2020 F150, specifically trucks built before November 30th, 2019. In a 2017 through 2020 F150 3.5-liter EcoBoost, there are 4 cam phaser actuators. Ford calls them variable camshaft timing units, each roughly the size of a soda can. When they wear, they lose their hold, and the engine cold starts with a rattle from the top front of the motor that lasts a few seconds before settling. That rattle is a $3,000 to $5,000 repair sitting in your future. Let it go to the point where the timing moves far enough that the valves contact the pistons, and you are well past that number. Ford documented this in Technical Service Bulletin 23-21-43. Here is the part that matters. Ford set up a coverage program called 21N03, full coverage under 70,000 miles, dropping in stages, and 0 above 90,000. Then they closed it on January 1st, 2023. You already heard what that looks like. That is the owner who opened this video. That is not a coincidence. That is a program designed with a table that Ford knew would expire at the same mileage these trucks hit on the used market. They documented the failure, they built the exit into the timeline, and the owner holding the truck when the window closed is the one paying for it. If your code reader shows P164C, that is the engine computer in your F-150, detecting that one of those actuators cannot hold position during auto start-stop. Catch it now. Metro dealer labor rates are running $120 to $140 an hour, and this is not a quick job. Let it go, and you are talking about something considerably more expensive than phasers. One more thing, if you have already had this repair done, pull out the repair order. On the line items under parts replaced, you will see part numbers printed next to each component. Check that the phasers show an ML3Z prefix, not HL3Z. That one-letter difference, M versus H at the start, tells you whether the shop used the updated design that closes the failure window or just reinstalled the same generation of parts that wore out. Number 2 on the best list, the Ford 5.0 Coyote is durable. Owners on the F-150 forums are posting 250,000-mile updates with no major engine work. One owner at 297,000 miles is still not burning oil. That is not a fluke. That is what happens when a V8 with no turbochargers and no cylinder deactivation complexity just runs. The Generation 1 Coyote from 2011 through 2014 had a timing chain tensioner issue. The Ford 5.0 timing chain tensioner is a spring-loaded arm roughly the size of your hand. If oil changes got stretched, that tensioner wore prematurely, and the startup rattle was your warning. Ford issued a technical service bulletin. Replacement on a first-generation Coyote F-150 runs $1,900 to $2,600 if you catch it early. Ignore it, and you bend valves. Generation 2 and Generation 3 from 2015 onward revise the tensioner design, and the pattern largely disappears. Now, before that next part worries you, every 2021 and newer Ford F-150 with the 5.0 cylinder deactivation system has it built in. Ford called it variable displacement engine. It has been on every 5.0 F-150 since 2021, and most dealers cannot tell you it is there because Ford never advertised it. Before someone uses that fact to steer you away from this engine, know the system Ford built is architecturally different from what failed on GM 5.3, and the F-150 owner forms are not seeing the lifter collapse pattern that buried GM. Here is the market observation most people will push back on. The 3.5 EcoBoost Gen 2 is the most expensive used truck bargain available right now, because almost nobody buying one is pricing in the cam phaser repair that is already coming. The seller knows the Rattle started. The price does not reflect what is sitting inside that engine. If this video found you before you handed a seller the keys to a 2017 3.5 without checking the build date, subscribe. Now, the one engine in this lineup that avoids every single failure mode we just covered is the Ford 7.3-liter Godzilla. The engine sitting in every F-250 and F-350 Super Duty since 2020. It is Ford's first pushrod V8 in over 2 decades. No turbos, no variable timing systems, no cylinder deactivation. The failure modes that cost owners money on every other engine in this video simply do not exist in this one. 430 horsepower. The simple design is the point. The most documented repair on personal F-250 and F-350 Godzilla trucks is a spark plug wire harness. Ford issued a service fix on first year 2020 trucks for a harness that burned through near the exhaust. Wire harness replacement clears it for under $500. There is also a cylinder scoring and lifter pattern that has shown up in F-450 commercial chassis trucks, running extended high idle hours, fleet vehicles, and delivery trucks. On personal F-250 and F-350 trucks doing normal towing and driving, that pattern has not appeared at scale. The 3.5 Generation 2, the cam phaser truck, is carrying a $3,000 to $5,000 repair most used buyers are not accounting for. The 2.7-liter built in that 9-month production window between April 2016 and January 2017 is carrying a $4,000 to $6,000 cylinder head job. The seller is not going to volunteer. The 7.3 Godzilla's documented worst case on a personal truck is under $500, and that is on first-year units that have already been through the service fix. This engine is only 5 years old, and the long-term data is still building, but through 150,000 personal use miles, the record is clean. Right now, it earns the top spot. Here is exactly what to do based on where you are right now. If you own a 2017 through 2020 Ford truck with the 3.5 EcoBoost built before November 30th, 2019, pull the repair order for the phaser job and confirm the part numbers start with ML3Z on the parts list. If they do not, or if the repair was never done, get a price before the Rattle gets worse. Before you buy a used truck with this engine, cold start it when it has been sitting for at least 6 hours, and listen for a rattle from the top front of the engine in the first 2 to 3 seconds. Listen carefully. That sound right there is the phaser telling you what the repair bill is going to be. If you are looking at a used Ford truck with a 2.7 EcoBoost, before you sign anything, find out whether it was built between April 1st, 2016 and January 1st, 2017. If it was, you need a repair order showing cylinder head replacement under Technical Service Bulletin number 192384. If you own a 5.0-liter Coyote or a 7.3-liter Godzilla with no current symptoms, use full synthetic oil of the correct weight and keep oil change intervals to a 5,000-mile maximum. The 300,000-mile owners on the forums are not doing anything special. They are just not stretching oil changes on a motor that responds to basic care. Ford builds trucks that will run 300,000 miles. And Ford builds trucks that will hand you a repair bill at 70,000 miles that you did not see coming. You now know which engines are which, and that is exactly what the window sticker was never going to tell you.